The recycling facility was not a place for living things. It was built for broken things, old things, and things that nobody wanted anymore. But today it held something different. Today it held a creature with skin that glowed like water under moonlight, and that creature was dying alone in the dark. Captain Holland stood behind the thick glass window of the observation deck and watched everything happen. His hands were tight at his sides. His jaw was hard. He had been a captain for 6 years, and he had learned to control his face, but inside his chest something was breaking. The Veeler traders had brought the creature to Station 7 3 weeks ago. They called it an inn, and they said it was a wonderful pet. It was gentle, they said. It was smart. It would learn to do things you wanted it to do. Many wealthy people in the galaxy bought in. It was a good business. But the tests came back wrong. The creature had a virus inside its body, not an active virus, not a virus that would hurt anyone right now. But the galaxy was afraid of viruses. The galaxy was afraid of things that could change and become bad. The council voted 5 days ago. The vote was simple and quick. Quarantine the creature. Do not let it leave the recycling facility. If it shows any sign of sickness, end its life. No one would take it. No one would spend money on a creature that might become sick later. The Veeler traders had walked away first. They did not look back. They said there was no money in a broken thing, so they stopped trying to sell it. Then the wealthy people who had almost bought the creature walked away. They did not want the worry or the problem. They did not want to explain to their families why they had bought something broken. Then the rescue groups and the kind people walked away. They said they did not have the money or the space. They said the resources were too much. They said the virus was too big a risk. By the end of the first week, the creature was alone in the recycling facility, and everyone knew it was going to die. Had read the reports 3 times. He had read the medical data. He had read the council's decision. He had read the statement from the Veeler saying they took no responsibility for what happened next. And then he had come to watch, because he needed to see it with his own eyes. The creature sat in the corner where the recycling machines could not reach it. Its skin was blue one moment and gray the next, knew what that meant. He had learned to read the signals of hundreds of alien species. The color changes meant fear. They meant pain. They meant the creature was terrified. Dr. Lisa came to stand next to. She was the best medical officer on the station, and she had been arguing for 3 hours and 20 minutes against the council's decision. Had counted the minutes. "We could save it," Lisa said. Her voice was rough. "The virus is dormant. It will not wake up unless something causes extreme stress. We could give it medicine. We could give it a good life." "The council says no," said. "The council is wrong," Lisa said. Did not disagree with her, but wanting something to be true and it being true were 2 different things. The council had the power. The humans had only themselves. Commander Price came to stand on the other side, had been thinking about this problem since the beginning, could see it in the way watched the creature, was a soldier. He understood difficult choices, but he also understood when something was not actually a difficult choice at all. "If we take it, the council will file a complaint," said. "They will say we broke their rules. They will say we created a danger for the station." "Will they be right?" asked. "No," said, "but they will say it anyway." The creature in the recycling facility made a sound. It was small and broken and quiet. It sounded like a question. It sounded like a thing asking if anyone was there. It sounded like hope dying very slowly. Had not come this far into space to watch hope die slowly. He had come to explore, yes. He had come to find new things, yes. But mostly he had come because humans were supposed to do better than this. Humans were supposed to look at things that other species threw away and see something worth saving. "I am taking it out of there," said. His voice was steady now. His decision was made. Lisa turned to look at him. "What?" "I am the captain of the human contingent on this station. That creature is going to the medical bay. Get a quarantine chamber ready. Make it comfortable. Find out what it eats, what it drinks, what it needs. Do it now." Smiled. It was a small smile, but it was real. "The council will be very unhappy." "The council can file their complaint," said. "I do not care. I did not come to the stars to watch a child die alone in a recycling facility while we stand and do nothing." The word seemed to wake something up in Lisa's eyes. Child. The creature was a child, young and small and new. The Veeler had sold a child because it was not profitable to keep, and then they had walked away and left it to die. Left the observation deck. He moved fast through the station hallways. The recycling facility door had a lock on it, but had the authority to open it. The council had never imagined that a captain would break their own rules. They had never imagined that the humans would choose a creature worth more than protocol. The door slid open. The creature saw and backed away. This was the right thing to do. The creature did not know if it was there to help or to end things. There was no reason to trust a tall thing with a hard face. Moved slowly. He knelt down so he was smaller. He kept his hands empty and open. He made his voice soft. "It is okay," said. "I am here to help you. You are not going to die here, I promise. You are coming with me. You are going to be safe now." The creature's skin flickered between blue and purple. Maybe it did not understand the words, but maybe it understood the way sat still and patient. Maybe it understood that a being who moved slowly and spoke gently was not a danger. The creature took one step forward, then another. Then it pressed itself against his chest and felt it shaking. He held it carefully, supporting its weight, and he promised himself that this creature would never be alone again. By evening, the creature was in medical. Lisa had worked for hours to build a good space. The quarantine chamber had soft lights and fresh water and food that might match what the creature needed. The creature drank water carefully. It tested food with a careful tongue. Slowly, its skin started to change from gray back to blue and then to purple. Sat with the creature for an hour. He did not touch it much. He just stayed nearby. He let it know that someone was there. By the time the creature closed its eyes and fell asleep, its breathing was slow and easy. The complaint from the council arrived before dawn. It said had broken rules. It said he had created danger. It said there would be a hearing and there would be consequences. Read the complaint and filed it in the system. Then he went back to medical to sit with the creature while it slept. Some things were worth the consequences. Some things were worth breaking the rules. Some things were worth standing alone against the entire galaxy. The creature's skin glowed soft purple in the dark medical chamber. It had already learned that it was safe. It had already learned that at least one species in this galaxy knew how to care for the broken things that others threw away. Understood then that this small decision would change everything. The Veeler did not know it yet. The Council did not know it yet. But the universe was about to learn that humans were the kind of species that would risk everything to save a single child. The hearing room was cold and built for creatures that did not feel warmth the way humans did. There were high angles and sharp edges and lights that came from above and below and the sides all at once. Council members from 40 different species sat in raised seats. They looked down at Holland and Lisa and Price as if these three humans were insects under a lens. The council had waited 4 days before calling the hearing. 4 days to let sit with the weight of his decision. 4 days to let him wonder if he had made a terrible mistake. Had not slept much in those 4 days, but the creature in medical was sleeping well. That was what mattered. Counselor called the meeting to order. Was made of crystal that seemed to grow from the inside out, and light moved through him like water. When he spoke, the sound echoed in ways that made bones hurt. Captain Holland said, "You have violated the quarantine order. You have removed biological material from the recycling facility. You have created a danger to this station. How do you answer these charges?" Stood straight. The creature in medical is not a danger. The virus inside it is dormant. It will not become active unless the creature experiences extreme stress. The council's decision to execute an innocent being was not based on safety. It was based on fear. The chamber filled with noise, clicks and buzzes and sounds that had no English words. Some species were angry, some seemed interested, some seemed to agree with, though they did not say it out loud. The Velar trader stood up. His name was Or, and he had sold the creature because the profit margin was too small. His mandibles clicked as he spoke. "The human speaks from emotion, not logic," Or said. "We invested significant resources into bringing the inn to this market. When the risk became unacceptable, we acted as any rational being would act. We removed the asset from our liability and positioned it for alternative use. The human captain has stolen property that was rightfully ours." "You left it to die in the recycling facility," Lisa said. Her voice was sharp and angry. "You were not trying to sell it. You were trying to hide it so you would not have to pay to maintain it." Or skin flushed colors that suggested he was offended. "The human female speaks from ignorance. The inn was never our responsibility once we removed it from our sales division." "You sold a child," said. The words were quiet, but they carried weight. "When your plan failed, you dumped a child in a recycling facility and hoped no one would find it until it was dead. Now you want to claim it as your property because we saved it." The chamber erupted in more noise. The Merchants Guild representative, a creature that looked like a blob of oil held together by force of will, started making calculations on a device. The delegation looked uncomfortable. The crystals that made up a body could not hold what humans called guilt, but they could calculate risk, and the risk was changing. It was Petra Yang who changed everything. Petra was from the Chinese delegation, and she had been sitting quietly in the back of the chamber. Now she stood up, and the chamber went silent because when humans spoke one voice, other humans spoke one voice too. "The human contingent across all stations stands with Captain Holland," Petra said. "The Velar sold a young creature knowing it was sick and hoping no one would care when it died. That is not business. That is cruelty. And this council is trying to punish the humans for refusing to participate in that cruelty." She paused. The whole chamber was listening now. "If this council sanctions humans for sheltering a dying child of another species, then humanity will remember," Petra said. "We will remember when the Velar needs something from us. We will remember when the council needs human ships for trade or human strength for problems. We will remember that the galaxy chose profit over compassion." It was not exactly a threat, but it was close enough. The Merchants Guild representative stopped his calculations. The Velar trader sat down. Everyone understood what Petra had said. Humans could be trusted to care for the weak. That meant humans could also be trusted to hold grudges against those who hurt the weak. Called for a vote. The voting was strange and public, so everyone could see who believed what. 7 council members voted to allow the inn to stay on Station 7, with conditions. 2 members abstained, which meant they did not want to take a side. Only and or voted against it. Or stood up after the vote. His mandibles were clicking fast, which meant he was angry. "This is not over, humans. The inn is Velar property. We will take legal action through the Trade Commission." Try said, "Take your legal action. We will be waiting." As the council members left the chamber, felt Lisa grab his arm. "We won," she said. "We actually won." But was looking at something else. The Merchants Guild representative was walking toward them instead of leaving. When he reached them, the blob of oil shifted colors. "Interesting move," the representative said. His voice sounded like rocks grinding together. "You made the Velar into the villains and yourself into the heroes. It was good strategy. The galaxy loves heroes. Heroes are profitable. You have made yourselves useful." He left before could answer. Later that night, went a medical to check on the creature. Lisa was there, running new tests. The creature, which they had started calling Violet because of the colors its skin made in the medical lights, was sleeping peacefully. "She is getting stronger," Lisa said. The stress from the council was bad for her, but now that the worst is over, her body is healing. I think the virus will stay dormant forever if she stays healthy and happy. Watched the creature sleep. Violet's skin was a soft purple, the color that seemed to mean she felt safe. He had risked his career for this being. He had broken the rules. He had stood against the entire council of Station 7. And now, watching Violet sleep, he knew he would do it again. Some things in the universe were more important than rules or protocol or profit margins. Some things were important because they were right. Violet was innocent. Violet was young. Violet had been thrown away by one species and saved by another. That was what humans did. They saved the broken things. They stood alone if they had to. They made sure that the creatures others threw away learned what it felt like to be wanted. Came into medical at midnight. He sat down next to without saying anything. They both watched Violet sleep. "The Veeler will try to take her," said finally. "Let them try," said. "They will use lawyers and money and leverage with the Trade Commission." "Yes," said, "but Violet is with us now, and we do not give up on our own. That is what the galaxy does not understand about humans. We are willing to lose. We are willing to be poor. We are willing to be alone, but we will not abandon the things we have decided to protect." Nodded, he understood. All the humans understood. The battle was not over. The council had given them permission to keep Violet alive, but the Veeler would fight back. There would be more hearings, more arguments, more problems. But Violet was safe for now. And that was enough. 3 weeks after the council hearing, the creature called Violet was no longer a patient in medical. She walked through the station hallways on her own. Her skin was bright purple most of the time now. The staff had learned to read what the colors meant. Purple meant happy. Orange meant curious. Gray meant tired. Blue meant calm. Lisa was the first to notice something strange. It happened on a normal morning when she was running her own medical checks before her shift started. She had been complaining about pain in her shoulder for 2 weeks. It was a small pain, nothing serious, but it bothered her when she worked long hours. Violet came into the medical bay early, which was unusual. The creature had learned the human schedule and tried to stay quiet during sleep times. But on this morning, Violet walked straight to Lisa and made a soft sound, almost like a question. Violet's skin was orange, the color of curiosity and concern. The creature reached out and placed her appendage directly on Lisa's shoulder, in exactly the place where Lisa had pain. Lisa felt it immediately. A kind of scan, not physical but not invisible either. Violet held her appendage there for 3 seconds and then made another sound, this time like she was reporting something. "What are you doing?" Lisa asked, but she was already looking at the diagnostic screens. Violet had activated them by touching the station's medical network interface. The results made Lisa go very still. There was an infection in her shoulder, a small one, very small, so small that the station's automatic health scanners had not detected it, but it was there, growing slowly. If Lisa had ignored it, in another week or 2 it would have become bad enough to affect her work. Violet had found it by touching her. "How did you do that?" Lisa asked. She was talking to herself more than to Violet, but Violet seemed to understand. The creature's skin shifted to purple, and she pressed her whole body against Lisa's side, which Lisa had learned meant trust and safety. By the end of the day, and Daniel Foster, who ran the hydroponics section, and Grace Martin, who worked in engineering, were all in medical listening to Lisa explain what had happened. "The ink can sense pathogens at the cellular level," Lisa said. "She felt the infection through my skin. She identified it and reported it to the medical computer. This should not be possible. This is not in the medical database." Daniel was already looking at his personal research device. His face was getting pale as he read. "This makes her incredibly valuable, more valuable than anything the Veeler could have imagined." "Medically valuable, you mean," Grace said. She was young and smart, and she did not hide what she was thinking. That is why they sold her. They found out she could do this, and they decided the profit was not big enough, so they dumped her. Was doing calculations in his head. Could see him working through the problem. If a inn can sense dormant viruses, dormant infections, things that would normally take weeks to diagnose, that is worth a lot of money. The Vealer might have been planning to keep that secret and sell the information. Then the virus appeared and they panicked. So they gave up, said. They could not profit from her because of the virus, so they abandoned her and hoped she would die quietly. Violet was sitting on the floor of medical, her skin cycling slowly through calm colors. She did not seem to understand that she had been worth killing to other species. She did not seem to understand that her ability to sense sickness had been the reason for her abandonment. Knelt down next to her. You did good, Violet. You found Lisa's sickness. You helped her. That is what you do, you help. Violet made a happy sound. Over the next 2 weeks, Lisa began training Violet to work in medical properly. The creature learned fast. She learned which people needed which kinds of scans. She learned to move carefully around the medical equipment. She learned to tell the difference between types of infections just by touch. Within a month, Violet had identified 7 infections on the station that would have gone undetected. One of them was serious, in an engineer who did not know he was sick. Without Violet, the infection would have spread to his whole body. With Violet, it was stopped before it became dangerous. The council had to vote again. This time, instead of voting on whether to kill Violet, they voted on whether to officially recognize her as a medical specialist. The vote was different this time. 15 council members voted yes. Only 3 voted no, including an or. 2 abstained. The Merchants Guild representative did something unexpected. He asked to speak to privately. They met in a small room off the main station corridor. The blob of oil that was the Merchants Guild representative shifted colors that meant he was thinking carefully about profit. The Vealer will claim ownership of the creature's genetic research, he said. They will say that her abilities come from their breeding program and therefore belong to them. They will demand payment for her use. What do you think will happen? Asked. I think the humans will find a clever way around this problem, the Merchants Guild representative said. The humans are becoming unpredictable in ways that are interesting. Unpredictability can be profitable if managed correctly. He left before could ask what he meant. It was Petra Yang who understood first. She sent a message directly to. Let her publish, Petra wrote. Let Violet publish her own genetic data, her research, her case. Let her tell the story of an abandoned and rescued and useful. Let her give the data to science freely. Then the Vealer cannot claim ownership. It becomes her story, not their property. Went to medical and sat with Violet. He explained the idea as simply as he could. Violet listened carefully, her skin shifting through colors of understanding and then decision-making. Violet's skin turned bright gold, which Lisa said she had never seen before. It meant something big, something important. It meant yes. Within a week, Violet's genetic sequence was in every major medical journal in the galaxy. The data was released under a commons license, which meant doctors everywhere could use it to understand the in-species better. The Vealer filed a complaint saying the data was their property, but even the Merchants Guild did not support their claim. The profit was gone. The Vealer had lost their leverage. That evening, found Violet in the hydroponics bay with Daniel. The creature was carefully touching plants, helping identify which ones were sick or struggling. You did good, said. You helped the people who saved you by sharing your gift with everyone. Violet looked at, her skin was purple and peaceful. Humans saved me, she said, speaking slowly with the voice box Lisa had given her. Other species left me die. Now I help humans. Humans help other species. I help too. That is fair. That is right. Understood then that rescuing Violet had not been about saving her life. It had been about teaching her what it meant to be part of a family. Violet was not grateful in the way had expected. She was grateful in the way humans were grateful, by building and helping and giving back. The universe was learning something important. The Veeler had tried to treat Violet as property. The Council had tried to treat her as a problem. But the humans had treated her as a person, and that made all the difference. The creature with the glowing purple skin was no longer dying alone in a recycling facility. She was working in medical. She was saving lives. She was giving her research to help her entire species. She was home. The message arrived during the night shift. It came through the Trade Commission's official channels, which meant it was important and legal and backed by the full authority of the merchant community. Read it twice before calling his senior staff to his office. Arrived first, then Lisa, then Daniel and Grace. Displayed the message on the wall screen for everyone to see. The Veeler Trade Commission was demanding compensation, 500,000 credits. They claimed that Violet was their property. They claimed that the humans had stolen biological assets. They claimed that they had spent significant resources developing the creature and therefore deserved payment for that development. The message ended with a threat. If the humans did not pay within 30 days, the Veeler would escalate to the Trade Commission. There would be formal charges. There would be a public case. The humans would either pay or face legal consequences. Can they do that? Grace asked. Was already doing calculations. His face was getting harder and harder as the numbers added up. They might be able to do it. If they claim she was stolen property, the Trade Commission might agree that they have a claim. But they sold her to the recycling facility, Lisa said. They are the ones who abandoned her. They will argue that they reassigned her to the recycling facility for processing, said. They will say they followed legal procedure. They will say that legally, she was still their property until she was fully processed for disposal. Felt something cold settle in his chest. This was how the galaxy worked. This was how powerful beings and rich beings protected themselves. They did not use violence. They used legal arguments and money and time. How much can we pay? Daniel asked. Looked at him. The entire human medical budget for this year is 300,000 credits. The entire human operation budget is less than 800,000. Even if we took money from every single department, we could not get to 500,000 without crippling the station. Then we find the money somewhere else, Grace said. We take a loan. We ask other stations for help. That takes time, said. They gave us 30 days and any loan process takes longer than that. By the time we had the money, they would have already filed the case. Lisa was standing very still. She was doing something that had learned to recognize. She was thinking about problems in medical terms, looking for a solution that was obvious once you understood the system. The virus, Lisa said suddenly. They want Violet because of what she can do. They want her genetics because they are valuable. What if her genetics were not valuable anymore? What do you mean? Asked. The value of her genes is that they are proprietary. The Veeler can claim ownership because the knowledge is not public. But if we made the knowledge public, if we published her complete genetic code and made it free for everyone to use, then there is no proprietary information. There is nothing to own. Was already shaking his head. They will claim we are stealing their intellectual property by publishing their research. Unless Violet publishes it, Petra Yang's voice came through the communication system. Realized that someone must have alerted the Chinese delegation. That was how humans worked on different stations. They watched out for each other. Her research, her genetics, her discovery. If an survivor of medical abandonment publishes her own genetic data as a gift to medical science, it is not theft. It is a story of resilience and rehabilitation. Understood immediately. The legal argument was sound, but more important than the legal argument was the story. The galaxy understood money and profit, but the galaxy also understood narrative. A creature that had been abandoned and rescued and was now choosing to share her gift with the medical community was a powerful story. "How long would it take?" asked. "I can have her genetic sequence processed and ready for publication within 72 hours, Lisa said. "The journal data upload can happen in another 12 hours after that. Within 4 days, her information will be available to every medical institution in the galaxy." "The Veeler will still file their complaint," pointed out. "Yes," Petra said, "but the story will be different. Instead of wealthy traders lose their valuable property, it becomes in survivor of cruelty chooses to help medical science. The Merchants Guild will not want to be on the side of the traders who abandoned a child. The Council will not want to punish humans for allowing that child to give back to the community." Grace was the one who made the final observation. "It is not just a legal strategy. It is the right thing. Violet can help people. Her genetic data can help doctors treat others who are sick. If we hide that information to protect our legal case, we are making the same kind of choice the Veeler made. We are choosing ourselves over helping others." The room went quiet. Went a medical that evening and found Violet in her rest chamber. The creature was awake, watching the stars through the port window. Her skin was a calm blue. "The Veeler are trying to take you back," said. He decided not to hide the truth. Violet was not a child who needed protection from reality. She was a person who understood choices and consequences. Violet's skin flickered to orange, confused, worried. "They say you are their property," continued. "They want money from us or they will take us to court. But there is something we can do. We can publish your genetic information. We can let doctors everywhere have your data so they can help others. If we do that, the Veeler cannot claim you are their property because the information will not be secret anymore." "That means I help?" Violet asked. Her skin was shifting to purple now, understanding. "Yes, it means you help everyone. It means you give a gift to your entire species and to all the doctors who want to take care of sick creatures." Violet made a sound that Lisa had learned to recognize as a sound of agreement and decision. Her skin turned to a bright gold, brighter than it had ever been before. "I do that," Violet said. "I do that for all. I do that for humans who saved me." The process took exactly what Lisa predicted. 72 hours for the genetic processing, 12 hours for the upload to the major medical journals. By the end of the 4th day, Violet's genetic code was published under the Creative Commons license, free for anyone to use for non-commercial purposes. The Veeler filed their complaint on the 8th day. They claimed that Violet's genetic data was proprietary. They claimed that the humans had published stolen information. They demanded that the data be removed from all journals and that the humans pay damages. But the story had already changed. The news was full of reports about the inn who had been abandoned and rescued and was now sharing her gift with the galaxy. Medical schools were already incorporating her data into their curriculum. Doctors on 1,000 different worlds were using her information to improve care for their patients. The Merchants Guild abstained from voting on the Veeler complaint. Even abstained. Only the most council members supported the Veeler claim, and they could not carry the vote. The Veeler had lost. They had lost not because of clever legal arguments, but because they had chosen cruelty when they could have chosen compassion. They had abandoned a child, and that choice had cost them everything. That night sat with Violet in the observation deck. The creature pressed herself against the window, watching the stars. Her skin was gold. "You did what the Veeler could not do," said. "You took something they wanted to keep secret, and you made it a gift to the entire galaxy." "Veeler did not understand," Violet said slowly. "They see everything as property. They did not see that I am person. Humans understand. Humans see that helping is better than owning." Rested his hand against the window. Outside, the stars did not care about the legal battles or the moral choices. But inside the station, things were changing. Violet was proof that one act of compassion could change everything. One creature saved, one genetic code shared, one story told. And that was enough to show the galaxy what humans knew in their bones. Some things were worth more than property. Some things were worth more than profit. Some things were worth everything. 6 months after Violet shared her genetic data with the galaxy, Station 7 looked different. The medical facilities had expanded. New housing units had been built. There was talk of adding another section to accommodate more arrivals. The quiet human station that had once passed by unnoticed was becoming something else entirely. It became a refuge. They brought their young first. 3 adolescent creatures that measured almost 7 feet tall and were made of crystal that glowed from within. The human medical staff had expected them to be difficult and cold and logical, but they learned quickly that young needed the same things other young creatures needed. They needed food and safety and people who cared about whether they lived or died. The young bonded with Violet in ways that surprised everyone. The creatures would stand together in the medical bay, their crystal bodies glowing in patterns that Lisa learned meant communication. Violet's skin would match the patterns, learning the language of light and color. Then the Merchants Guild brought a salvage specialist. The being had been genetically modified for work in high-gravity environments, but a mistake in the modification had left her unable to work anywhere. She was expensive to maintain and therefore not profitable. The Merchants Guild did not like things that were not profitable, so they asked if the humans might take her. Said yes without hesitation. Even the Vealer came in a way. The being sent 2 adolescent into Station 7 with a message. The message was carefully worded to avoid admitting fault, but the meaning was clear. The Vealer could no longer maintain these creatures. The genetic therapy that kept them healthy was too expensive. The humans had proven they would care for In, so perhaps the humans would care for 2 more. Violet was the one who made the decision. She looked at the 2 young In, and her skin turned to a bright gold. She made a sound that was part welcome and part welcome home. They stay, Violet said in her careful, learned human language. They are my people, they need family, we give them family. Was right. Station 7 was becoming a rescue shelter, though no one had planned for it to be that way. It had just happened, the way things happened when one species showed the galaxy that compassion could be more important than calculation. Lisa conducted medical seminars now. Doctors from other stations came to learn from her and from Violet. The Inn had become the best medical diagnostician the galaxy had ever seen, but she did not keep that skill to herself. She taught it. She shared it. She watched the young creatures from other species learn to sense what humans and machines could not detect. Daniel had expanded the hydroponics section into something remarkable. The salvage specialist, whose name was translated as for simplicity, had unexpected expertise in plant genetics. Together with Daniel, developed new food sources that could sustain the many different species now living on Station 7. The preferred cool environments and specific minerals. The Inn needed certain proteins that grew best in specific soil conditions. The other beings brought their own needs and their own expertise. Grace's engineering team had grown from 3 people to 12. Half of the new engineers were from other species. They had a natural understanding of crystalline structures and light-based mechanics, understood how to build systems that worked in extreme conditions. Together, they fixed problems on Station 7 that the human team could never have solved alone. But the heart of Station 7 remained in medical, where Violet worked. The Inn had become something like a legend in the galactic community. Stories were told about the creature that the Vealer had abandoned. Stories about how humans had saved her. Stories about how she had saved thousands of others by sharing what she knew. The council on Station 7 was different now too. Petra Yang came in person to visit 6 months after Violet published her genetic data. She walked through the station and saw the working with humans. She saw teaching a young species how to repair quantum processors. She saw Violet in medical, her skin glowing gold as she taught a young alien healer how to sense what was wrong with a patient just by touch. "This is not what we expected," Petra said too as they watched the training session. "No," agreed. "I did not expect this either. I just expected to save one creature." "That is the difference between humans and other species," Petra said. "One creature saved becomes two creatures saved becomes a station full of creatures given a second chance. We do not stop at solving the problem in front of us. We keep going." The Merchants Guild representative visited as well, though he did not announce himself. He came quietly and watched the station operate for a full day. He watched Violet work. He watched the build. He watched humans and aliens working together in ways that created profit through cooperation instead of extraction. When he left, he sent a message. It said only, "The humans have solved the problem of profit in unique ways. Recommend observation of future human development. Unpredictability can be valuable." It was almost a compliment, coming from the Merchants Guild. One evening, found Violet in the observation deck, exactly where she had sat many times before. The creature was watching the stars, but now her skin was a peaceful gold instead of the desperate gray of those early days. "You remember when you were alone?" asked. "Yes," Violet said. "I remember fear. I remember believing no one would come. I remember thinking death was certain." "But it was not certain," said. "It was possible, but it did not have to happen." "Because humans came," Violet said. She did not phrase it as a question. She understood now that humans came when things that were supposed to die needed saving. "Yes," said, "because humans came, and because you decided to share what you had learned with everyone else who was suffering." Violet turned to look at. The creature had grown stronger in the 6 months of safety and food and care. She was no longer a young thing that might break. She was a healer. She was a teacher. She was a symbol of what happened when one species refused to accept that some things should be abandoned. "Other species tried to own me," Violet said slowly. "Tried to make me into property or problem or thing to get rid of. Humans tried to help, so I helped too. That is the difference. That is why I am happy here." Understood then that this was what humans did throughout history. They looked at things that other species threw away. They looked at creatures that were not profitable, not efficient, not logical, and then they found ways to make those creatures into family. It was inefficient. It was not practical. It could not be calculated or optimized or turned into profit margins. But it worked in ways that nothing else worked. It built communities. It created trust. It showed the galaxy that there was a species willing to spend resources and time and political capital on the idea that life was valuable in itself. The stars continued their ancient rotation. The universe continued to follow the laws of physics. But on one small station orbiting a minor star, something remarkable had happened. A species that had failed the test of compassion had learned what it looked like to pass it. Violet pressed her appendage against the window, and her skin glowed in shades of gold and purple that matched the colors of the nebula beyond. She was home. She was safe. She was proof that even in a galaxy that measured everything in profit and loss, there were still beings willing to choose mercy. The creatures that came after Violet learned her story first. They learned that there was a place where the broken and the abandoned could become whole again. They learned that humans would not give up on them. They learned that sometimes the universe held second chances. And they learned that the most powerful force in the galaxy was not military strength or economic power or advanced technology. It was the simple, stubborn decision of one species to keep choosing compassion when logic said they should choose profit. One creature saved, one young being rescued from certain death. That was how it started, and from that one creature everything changed. That was the gift the humans gave to the galaxy, not technology or wisdom or strength, but the willingness to keep the broken things, to care for them, to let them become whole again, to teach the universe that some choices could not be measured in credits or calculated in profit margins. Violet was home, and because Violet had found home, so had everyone else.